Hey, what's up, my guys? It's Al here, playing some more Scrap Mechanic. Today we're going to be looking at a build that kind of has a actual purpose, less so cosmetic and less so just sheer see if I could do it. Now, as everyone may already know, anyone who plays or even watches Scrap Mechanic, everyone knows you can hop on your lift and get around, and this helps you get up to high places and everything like that. However, while I was working with Snake on Luna City, we had some issues where we couldn't get to the buildings we needed to because we were working with multi-story buildings. As a quick solution, I went into my lift and I found my forklift. I basically put a bucket on it, and it allowed us to, basically whenever we needed to, we could run up the boom and get up there, or later we put a seat on so we could literally just hop up there, but it still controlled the same as the forklift did. Well, I said, there's an actual construction vehicle that's meant for this, and I wanted to build one for the purpose of never needing to worry about getting to a high place ever again. So I'm going to put down a lift so we can compare how high these go. I'm going to put the lift to as high as it can go. That's a lift. That's my forklift. And here's the aerial lift. Can't even get it in frame because I'm a tower behind me. Yeah, that's a pretty big difference. So we're not going to really look at the forklift because everyone already knows this. It's basically just the forklift I showed in an earlier episode with a bucket on it where you can just hop up here and get to whatever you need to do and work whatever you need to do. If you ever have to move it, you have to go back down to the seat and drive it. With this, there is no controls at the bottom other than you can raise and lower the boom. That's mostly meant that if you fall out, you can lower the boom and get back in. It's not as much the main controls. The main controls are actually up in the boom. There are two sets of controls, one on each side. So if you ever want to drive it this way, you can, or if you want to drive it this way, you can. These are actually supposed to be driven what most people would consider reverse, and it's meant so you can actually see the entire vehicle as you're driving it to avoid bumping into things. However, if you have to do detail work, you can control it from here. So going over the buttons real quick, you have your left, your right, forward, and backwards. And this little dial here tells you where your wheels are pointed. It tells you whenever you hit forward, which direction you're going to go. And the switch in the top right, so if we do that, now we're turning left. Switch in the top right is an auto drive, so if you're just trying to get somewhere with this, you can turn that on and you can focus on steering rather than pressing the forward button. Now with boom controls, you have up and you have down. And the third button here will extend and retract the extendable portion. So if I hit this one, oh, I was trying to look at that, but unfortunately not. You can see it does extend. We're going to put this all the way up. I think that's as far as we can go. We're actually going to drive over to this tower. This isn't meant to be fast. It's meant to be a utility more than it is meant to be a vehicle. So now we're up against the tower. If you ever had to build something here, like you wanted to build a tree house, you can do this without having to do the whole building block by block, building a giant nerd pole up. And you can also do it without using the whole seat thing. Because my experience using the seat thing, you usually get tossed away from whatever you're trying to climb, in my experience. So you can always use this to help you construct until you get an actual stairway or something up. And you can always run up and down this boom. It is at an angle that you can climb it. So that is the creation in a whole. That's its functionality, I guess. But I will be playing with it and driving around with it just to show off what it can do. There is no suspension, and it's very basic in the way it drives. The focus was the boom, pretty much, and to get as much height out of it. I'm going to go ahead and... One thing to note is with these controls, depending on which one you're using, the controls are already inverted to make sure that you don't end up going backwards when you mean to go forwards and all that. And you can always use these dials to tell which way you're going to go when you hit forward or hit backwards. Now I don't want to get off this platform, so that's pretty good. And one thing to note is I did have some problems with weight in the boom. So if you do try and lower the boom really far down and you have the boom extended, the system which raises the boom sometimes can't handle the weight and it will start to collapse at a certain point. Right here it's starting to struggle. Come on, I'm waiting for it to fail. And there it failed. At this point it can't hold the boom up. There's too much weight too far away from the lifting mechanism. It just can't handle it, so it collapses. However, if you retract the boom, it will go back up. That is one thing to note if you ever try and use this. You can't raise the boom with it extended, sorry. You can't raise it with it extended by default. You have to get it to a little bit past this before you can extend the boom. If not, you're going to cause the boom to collapse in on itself. So while we're at this height, let's actually go for a drive. This is not meant to be your daily driver. However, if you do need to move it, you can move it without using a lift. And it's mostly meant so you can change small details if you can't reach whatever you're trying to reach. And with the auto drive, there is a safety feature. There is a sensor here, so if you do fall out of the boom, it won't drive off without you. And you do also have to be careful what kind of terrain you're taking, simply because you are on a boom and you are far away from the drive wheels at times, and it can toss you out like a slingshot or a catapult with relative ease. Let's adjust our direction. I want to go this way. Now we're going this way. So yeah, if you ever are working on like city builds or you just need something that can get up 4 or 5 stories, this might be helpful for building. For most people, it's a bit too overcomplicated for what they need. They just probably use the lift or start using a nerd pole. But I thought it'd be a nice tool to have in my lift if I ever need it. And whereas some things like forklifts are functional, this does have somewhat of a use in scrap mechanic. Like I said, for building, say if we want to build a tree house here, say, it's a tiny tree, but say you want to put a tree house on this. Raise the boom. Wait for it. Okay, I think that's as high as it can go. Yeah, it's as high as it can go. Extend the boom. Now we want to get over that tree. Oh, we're not on flat ground, unfortunately. Yep, we're starting to get up on that hill that's right there. So we are a little cockeyed. Woo. Okay. Here we come, tree. And now, okay, that's glitchy. I'm not even touching the tree. Now, you have a treehouse, and you can use this as a temporary way up and down until you get something like an elevator or stairs put in. That's pretty decently far off the ground, actually. I guess I could put the boom a little bit higher. There we go, that's at its full height right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not anything else special to it. If you ever want to change engines and stuff like that, I guess you could go in here. Here's all the circuitry to it. You can change all that. And there is some stuff kind of dotted around. like the safety mechanism that prevents you from putting the boom down too far. There is no mechanism which prevents the wheels from turning too far or putting the boom all the way up. It's mostly on your own judgment. Just try not to break it. I guess if you break it, you can always put it back on a lift. There's always that option. Climb back up to our impromptu treehouse, I guess. Ta-da! So I think that's all there is for this episode. It was just a whim, something I wanted to build, thought would be useful at some point to me. So if you did enjoy the episode, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the channel, enjoy what I'm doing, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see me build, any challenges or anything like that you'd like me to take part in, please let me know in the comments as well. So until next time, this has been Al, playing with a aerial lift, I think is what these are called. Until next time.